This is Dan Dix here, reporting for Press for Truth. There are major changes underway right now in regards to Canadian law, and I'm not talking about the legalization of cannabis, although this does have something to do with it. No, today I'm talking about Bill S-230. This is the Drug Impaired Driving Detection Act, as it is now known as, and in this video, we're going to talk about the grave implications of this very draconian bill. Now, before we do, I want to remind you that this channel you are watching right now is funded by you, the viewers, through your donations and through your patronage at patreon.com/pressfortruth. This is where you can support the content creators that you appreciate by pledging a monthly amount. Because as most of you know by now, many of us in the field of alternative media are saying, screw YouTube. And the viewers of our channels are saying, yeah, I want my money to go directly to the content creator, and patreon.com/pressfortruth is where you can do that. All right, let's get back to this insane piece of legislation, and I'm going to break this down here bit by bit, so fasten your seatbelt, folks. We're in for a bit of a ride. Now, let's start with the summary. This enactment amends the criminal code to authorize the use of an approved screening device to detect the presence of drugs in the body of a person who was operating a vehicle or who had care or control of a vehicle. It also authorizes the taking of samples of bodily substances to determine the concentration of drugs in a person's body based on physical condition tests and the results of the analysis conducted using an approved screening device. All right, so we are literally talking about the collection of your DNA becoming mandatory under this bill if it passes into law. Now, therefore, Her Majesty, by and with the advice and consent of the Senate and House of Commons of Canada, enacts as follows. Short title, this act may be cited as the Drug Impaired Driving Detection Act. And it does seek to amend the criminal code here, folks. They're trying to get these screening devices approved, meaning a device of a kind that is designed to ascertain the presence of alcohol in the blood of a person's or drugs in the person's body, and that it is approved for the purposes of this section by order of the Attorney General of Canada. So what exactly are they looking for here, and how are they going to find it? Well, under samples of bodily substances. If an evaluating officer, based on the evaluation conducted under subsection 3.1, has reasonable grounds to believe that a person's ability to operate a motor vehicle, a vessel, an aircraft, or railway equipment is impaired by a drug or by a combination of alcohol and a drug, the peace officer may require the person, by demand made as soon as practicable, to comply with paragraph A, or the evaluating officer may require the person, by demand made as soon as practicable, to comply with either both or paragraphs A and B. Paragraph A, to provide as soon as practicable a sample of either oral fluid or urine that in the peace officer's evaluation, officer's opinion, will enable a proper analysis to be made to determine whether the person has a drug in their body. Or to provide, as soon as practicable, samples of blood that in the opinion of the qualified medical practitioner or qualified technician taking the samples will enable a proper analysis to be made to determine whether or not the person has a drug in their body. Folks, this is a very slippery slope that is leading into an Orwellian nightmare where you're going to be tracked and traced and all your DNA stored on a database. Think I'm being paranoid? Well, consider this. The Royal Mounted Canadian Police has their very own national DNA databank. This legislation allowed a DNA databank to be created and amended the criminal code to provide a mechanism for a judge to order persons convicted of designated offenses to provide blood, buccal or hair samples from which DNA profiles will be derived. The legislation became official on June 30th, 2000, and it goes on to say here, thousands of police officers from every province and territory in Canada have been trained to collect DNA samples that are then forwarded to the National DNA Databank for analysis. The National DNA Databank is a shining example of the increasing importance of science and technology in modern law enforcement. Our complex, globalized world has created a whole new set of challenges for police. To stay ahead of the criminals, we must make better use of the cutting-edge science, such as forensic DNA. So do you see what's going on here, folks? The Liberal government is using the upcoming legalization of cannabis as a means to pass these draconian pieces of legislation that normally Canadians would have nothing to do with, and rightly so. But the Liberals are just hoping that you'll be too excited about the legalization of cannabis to even care. But how much of our freedoms are Canadians going to willingly give up, all in the name of legal weed? According to the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada, Jody Wilson-Raybould, she says, this bill, if it passes, will be one of the strongest impaired driving pieces of legislation in the world. In fact, impaired drivers under the influence of THC could face a penalty of up to 10 years in prison. No wonder it's the strongest in the world. This is about something much bigger, ladies and gentlemen. They want to use your love for cannabis to give up essential, fundamental freedoms and liberties that we have here in Canada, and we have to oppose these draconian pieces of legislation at every incremental step. At Press for Truth, we want to see a free and open, fair market when it comes to the legalization of cannabis, and this can be achieved through the Cannabis Growers in Canada Association, which was founded on the belief that every Canadian has the right to access high-quality, locally grown cannabis from a craft cannabis producer of their choosing, and that the best way to legalize cannabis is to empower local entrepreneurs to create jobs and to support their local economy. So on that note, check out this brief message from one of our sponsors, and please stick around as we close out the end of this video.
Can't make it to the shop, you can go on shuttershack.ca and you can find all of our products there. And we also post all of our testing results from the lab. What are our hours?
10 to 8 p.m.
10 till 8 p.m. 7 days a week. 1625 Quadra Street, Victoria, BC.
YouTube has reduced my ability to monetize my content here on YouTube, but that's okay. I'm going to take my advertising efforts into my own hands. So if you would like to be a PFT sponsor and you would like to have your ad played here on the PFT channel, contact me at dan@pressfortruth.ca, and let's just cut YouTube out of the picture altogether and we'll build something that's going to be mutually beneficial to the both of us. So in closing, folks, let's not give up our DNA to the police just because they've come up with an excuse to demand it from us. Let's fight for legalization or all-out decriminalization of the cannabis plant and the right to genetic privacy in the face of this outrageous bill. Share this video if you found the information useful. Click that like button, be sure to subscribe, and check the links in the description to find our sponsors and to find out how you can donate or become a PFT sponsor. And stay tuned, guys, we're going to have more video reports coming soon. This is Dan Dix reporting for Press for Truth.